In the summer of 371 BCE, as the sun burned across the plains of Boeotia, an army unlike any other marched beneath the banners of Thebes. Their armor gleamed, their shields bore the symbols of ancient valor, and their hearts beat with a fierce devotion that would soon shake the foundations of the Greek world. These were the men of the Sacred Band of Thebes, 300 warriors, bound not only by oath but by love, each fighting side by side with their chosen partner. For generations, the Spartans had dominated Greece, feared for their ruthless discipline and relentless training. They were the hammer that had crushed all rivals, the shield upon which many dreams of freedom had shattered. Their phalanx was legendary, their warriors raised from childhood to kill or die for Sparta. Yet on the fields of Leuctra, all that would change. The Theban general Epaminondus, a visionary leader whose mind saw possibilities where others saw only defeat, knew the cost of confronting Sparta. The odds were grim. The Spartan King Cleombrotus led an army of nearly 10,000, hardened hoplites, veterans of countless campaigns, against a force barely half their size. Yet Epaminondas had an ace that no military manual could teach: the Sacred Band. These warriors, chosen for their bravery and skill, had sworn to protect their lovers unto death. It was said that a man would fight more fiercely with his beloved at his side, that shame before one's partner was a fate worse than death. In this brotherhood of arms and heart, Epaminondas saw the key to victory. As dawn broke on the day of battle, the air was thick with anticipation. The Spartans, confident in their superiority, arranged their phalanx in the traditional manner, elite troops on the right, the king at the head, banners fluttering in the wind. The Thebans, however, prepared something revolutionary. Epaminondas had studied the mistakes of past battles. He knew that fighting Sparta head-on was suicide. Instead, he massed his strongest troops, the Sacred Band and the best Theban hoplites, on his own left flank, opposite the Spartan elite. The formation was deep, many ranks thick, a wedge ready to strike through the heart of the enemy. It was the birth of the oblique order, a tactical maneuver that would echo through the centuries. The signal was given. Bronze clashed on bronze as the Theban wedge surged forward, smashing into the Spartan line with a force that stunned even the most hardened veterans. Shield met shield, spears shattered. Men screamed as the press of bodies grew unbearable. The Sacred Band fought not just for glory or survival, but for the lover at their side. In the blood-soaked chaos, the bonds of affection became unbreakable steel. Where other men might falter, these warriors stood their ground, refusing to yield even a single step. The Spartans, unaccustomed to being pressed so fiercely, began to buckle. King Cleombrotus, at the head of his elite, tried to rally his men. He shouted orders, calling upon the ancient pride of Sparta, but the Theban wedge pressed deeper, driving the Spartans back. The king himself was struck down, falling amid the clash of spears and shields. His death sent a shockwave through the Spartan ranks. Suddenly, the myth of invincibility cracked. The men who had never known defeat now tasted fear. The battle raged, dust and blood mingling under the relentless sun. The Sacred Band, shoulder to shoulder, fought with a ferocity born of love and desperation. They had trained for this moment, their lives entwined with those of their partners. Each man knew that his failure might mean death for both. The Theban hoplites, inspired by the example of the Sacred Band, pressed the attack. The oblique formation allowed them to envelop the Spartans, crushing the vaunted phalanx from the side and rear. What happened next shocked even hardened veterans. The Spartans, who had stood firm against Persia, Athens, and all comers, began to break. Their discipline, the bedrock of their legend, crumbled beneath the onslaught. Warriors who had been taught that retreat was the ultimate shame now faced annihilation. The Thebans, sensing victory, surged forward with renewed fury. The field became a slaughterhouse, the air thick with the cries of dying men and the clash of iron. In the aftermath, the toll was staggering. Of the 10,000 Spartans who had marched to Leuctra, hundreds lay dead, including King Cleombrotus and many of his elite. The Thebans, though bloodied, stood triumphant. The Sacred Band, though their ranks had thinned, had shattered the greatest fighting force of the ancient world. The myth of Spartan invincibility lay broken on the fields of Boeotia. The world would never be the same. The news spread like wildfire. All across Greece, rival cities rejoiced. The tyrants of Sparta had been humbled. The balance of power shifted overnight. Where once the word Spartan had struck terror, now it was Thebes that commanded awe. Epaminondus, the architect of victory, became a legend in his own time, a commander whose genius had reshaped the art of war. But at the heart of the story, it was the Sacred Band that stood as the true symbol of courage. These men had proved that love, fierce, unyielding, and passionate, could forge warriors as mighty as any king's decree. But the legacy of Leuctra did not end on the battlefield. The victory sparked a revolution in military thinking. No longer was sheer discipline or brute strength enough. Tactics, innovation, and the spirit of those who fought mattered more. The oblique order would influence generals from Alexander the Great to Napoleon. The idea that warriors could be bound by more than duty, by friendship, by devotion, by love, would echo through the centuries. And yet, the fate of the Sacred Band was bittersweet. Their triumph at Leuctra marked the high point of Theban power. In time, they would face new enemies. Their legend would be tested again on the plains of Chaeronea, where a young Alexander would confront them. But for one glorious day, they had stood as the most feared fighting force in Greece, the living proof that bonds of the heart could overcome even the mightiest of foes. On blood-soaked battlefields, empires rise and fall. But the story of the Sacred Band of Thebes endures, a tale of heroism, innovation, and the unbreakable will of those who fight for something greater than themselves. As the sun set on Leuctra, the world knew that Sparta's time had ended, and that love, courage, and tactical genius had changed the course of history. The question remains, what would become of these legendary warriors, and how would their legacy shape the wars yet to come? The answer waits in the shadows, where the next great battle is always just beyond the horizon.